to deal with everything else. They've shown strategies against Tracer when she's being picked. We had a couple of variant picks throughout the weekend. But I really think that the impact that AD already has is a bit too much. But it is Battlefield of Eternity. We could also see Zealots just fall back onto their double support composition and throw a Tassadar into the mix. I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest if that happens. So that's another composition or another aspect of their play that we have to keep an eye out. But the first ban here from Fnatic doesn't shock at all. Medivh banned out, totally understandable one.
I don't know, it's a little bit shocking. Why would you ban the best hero on your opponent's side? That's not fair. How do they know who they're playing against? I thought they didn't show the players' names. What is this?
Oh, the solid coming in from the right here. Look at that.
I will continue to move forward and be a professional here. Medivh has been banned out. Zealots, what will you ban? Is this a world where you ban Garrosh or ETC? Because those tanks have been pivotal on this battleground. Looks like the answer is no. As Hanzo, I don't know why I'm forgetting about him. We all know Hanzo's first pick on this battleground because of Scatter Arrow, but it does leave those tanks open.
And I mean, it's the first pick now for Fnatic, so it makes sense that Zealots this time ban him out. Usually they're the ones picking him up.
Yeah.
That also makes their double support composition a bit less likely, depending, of course, what they pick. If they throw a Tracer into the mix, then there's still a chance that we're going to see AD-RD's Tassadar and the double support setup. But Fnatic is the team that's going to open us up here with the first pick. And now, of course, again, the question, what do you take here? Do you head into your damage? Do you instead just simply try to pick the front line? Garrosh is available now.
I like Garrosh, man, especially for Breeze. He's been doing well in the ETC.
I mean, traditionally, they banned out ETC on that map.
Yeah.
Fnatic plays a ton of BOE, and so far, when you look at their frontline choices, they have in the past oftentimes, I mean, it was back in the first part, they've picked a lot of Arthurs on the side lane. We've seen a couple of Anubra compositions by them, trying to go for that aggressive style. And they actually open up with Malfurion here. So, again, I'm not, like, we have to keep that Anubra in mind.
Yeah.
If you go into a Cocoon setup and you have Malfurion with the roots already in play, there's definitely a chance that Fnatic plays around Greymane and Anubra again, trying to really drive those engagements, trying to have Greymane for the Immortal Pressure and also a Curse Bullet into a quick kill after Cocoon. So there's definitely a few arguments for that to be made. It hasn't been as dominant from Fnatic as it was in Part 1 in 2017, but it's still a tool they have in their arsenal. And if they feel it fits, if they see the Zealots picks and say, okay, this is still a good choice, they are going to go into that aggressive style.
But you leave Garrosh up for Zealots, and they're the team that brought Garrosh into the Western Clash to show that it could be successful, right? They were like, listen, if we have the teamwork, you can make it become a scary tool. And I feel like Zealots are going to pass up this opportunity.
Yeah, Zealots have a 4-1 on Garrosh, so an 80% win ratio with the hero. And again, we're talking league play here, so that is actually disregarding the performance that was at the Western Clash. And there's immediately two of the heroes that the Zealots pick, Stukov and Garrosh. So that's really what brought them into the Western Clash, what helped them to get this massive result and end up in the finals against Dignitas. So two of the key heroes that we have for them. Mopsio, really the player that brought Garrosh into the meta.
Yeah.
He's been talking to us at the Western Clash and he's been saying, I want to play more Garrosh. And
team, believe in me.
I have to convince my team that Garrosh is actually a good pick here and I'm going to do that. He started to do it. All of a sudden they realized, well, this is actually working. And everybody else was like, huh. Garrosh, let's try that.
That's really weird. It feels like when you throw somebody into a silence, they can't move their hero and they die. That is so awkward. How is that so effective? It works, and Zealots are going to pull it off here. Fnatic, will they be able to handle the Garrosh combos? Yesterday, we saw attempts at trying to stop Garrosh with Lunara as a possible pickup. Lunara having a hard time on Darkmok there, but Fnatic just has to go a different rate. They are going to go into Tracer and Tassadar. Typically, we've been seeing that Hanzo and Tassadar try and poke down Garrosh, but Tracer will be a little bit more in your face.
That's going to be really interesting now. If you see that setup, your first thought is like, Tracer, of course. But again, Fnatic has only played Tracer a single time. And they lost with Tracer that time. They are the team that plays the least amount of Tracer by far. No one else has even, isn't even close to how few games they have on the hero. And they just disregarded Tracer over and over again. So that they actually go into a Tracer play for me is exciting. I want to see how well they do now with that particular setup here. The double support composition, Tracer in the mix now as well. So this is really cool from Fnatic because it shows that they enlarge that hero pool a bit. And for me, the immediate question is, who plays Tassadar, who plays Tracer? Because traditionally, you've seen from a mage perspective, Mena oftentimes ending up in the Tassadar spot.
Yeah.
And that would mean that we have Tracer being played by Quagnix, that he broadened his hero pool to Tracer. But then we have seen also Mena's Tracer, quite a bit, and he has in the past been practicing that hero actively since he said, this is a high impact hero, I want to shine on that hero and I want to make it happen. So at this point, I'm not quite sure how they're going to play it. There's a good chance that we're going to see main on Tassadar and Quacknix on Tracer, but it could be vice versa.
Do you think we have a different world and we go a step further and we have Bad Benny on the Tassadar?
No.
Tracer for Benny? Not even close?
No, I don't think so, because then someone else would have to take over the side lane, and from a hero pool perspective, that's just not happening.
Well, Cassia banned out, and we'll see who exactly will be playing the Tracer or the Tassadar. Zealots on the right will be looking for their own damage here pretty soon. Should be looking for a little bit more damage on top of that Immortal. There's always a possibility for a Greymane to come into the mix. There he is, and Blaze picked up for Zealots.
So, very tanky setup at the front. It's really cool to see this, because if you would have shown me those two setups and say who plays what, I would have probably switched it over. Just because of the reluctance that Fnatic had in the past to play Tracer, and how often we see it from Zealots with a double support setup. Greymane now also being in the mix. It's typically Quacknix hero. And again, Greymane is played by them more than by any other team, or more successfully at least. 11 wins on Greymane by Fnatic and only 2 losses, so Greymane was their go-to for Quack for such a long time, and even on Friday they made it work quite well. So I'm loving the comps right now, because it might still be meta, but for Fnatic it's new, and the Zealot show is something that makes it very difficult also to find these kills.
So what are we getting from Fnatic? Main tank set up here. Diablo is up and available, we've seen on this battleground, but I think I'm leaning a little bit more towards that ETC that hasn't made it through once again on the ban phases.
You can actually play at the front lane nearly whatever you want. There's the Arthas on the side lane again. We pointed him out earlier when we were talking about the map. They played Arthas on this map quite a bit.
Yeah.
And have him on Bad Benny. Tyrael, you have the extra shields now for Tracer, so it's really on a damage perspective. All in on Tracer, and then, well, to an extent also, of course, Arthas. But just throw some numbers in there. Arthas on this map, not general, but on this map, Fnatic has a 3-1 track record with Arthas. So 75% win ratio, doing pretty well with that. So yeah, Arthas definitely go-to for them. Tyrael, by the way, the exact same ratio. So oftentimes they play the two of them together. They play a lot of Tyrael Arthas, or did it in part 1, and they are actually reviving that setup again for this match. And this is an important one. I mean, this is map 3 against the Zealots.
Now I'm more excited to see who's going to be playing that Tracer, because this entire composition is to let Tracer shine, and how they decide to choose fights is based on how that Tracer wants to go into a fight.
I'm pretty sure it's Quack.
Yeah.
Like, Mena would love to play more heroes there, but at the same time, he's very heavily focused now on the majors. So I feel they divided the hero pool quite specifically. And I would be surprised if it isn't Quack. And a bit of an X factor coming in. Now that there's no Medivh available and no Tassadar available, we still have Abathur in the mix. And we have now Greymane Abathur. So, yeah, good setup for both of the teams. Fnatic maybe a little bit more on the edge of the current meta.
Sure.
With the pick on Arthas and Tyrael now at that front line. But yeah, I'm liking what I'm seeing, and I'm very curious to see what's happening with this.
I'm going to be watching Shad here. How does he handle the Tracer pressure that'll be coming towards his side? Will the Garrosh be able to get those picks? Will Taunt also be on point as well? If we're able to lock that down, I can see a spot where Fnatic just completely falls apart in this composition, but at the same time, Tracer is always a volatile matchup. You don't know how it's going to go, and if she finds those kills, your team will get the lead, especially with the Tyrael following up there and constantly providing those shields. This will be an exciting one to watch.
Yeah, I'm hyped for this. The series was already great so far. We have a 1-1. And again, this is such an important match, especially for Fnatic if they want to qualify directly for the mid-season brawl in Sweden. But we're going to head into that game. Battlefield of Eternity is our third map, ladies and gentlemen. And this is going to be an important one. Who's going to take it? Map, Battleground, great for both of our teams. We're starting things off with Fnatic on the left, with Breeze on Tyrael, Bad Benny on Arthas, Main on the Tassadar, Quacknix finds himself on Tracer, and Smexy on Malfurion.
Shad to play Stukov, ADRD on Abathur, Mopsio on Garrosh, Chris to play Greymane, Zarmony on Blaze, and it's going to be Zealots here on the right in the red.
I am hyped. This is going to be good. So Quack has to showcase his Tracer play now. Again, Fnatic with only a single game on Tracer. She's super meta for everyone else in Europe, but Fnatic hasn't really jumped onto the hype train yet. This is their second game with a hero. And I am very, very excited to see how much of an impact he can have with this. Mena is going to try and support him as much as he can on Tassadar. And it's also kind of funny to see Mena now on that hero, because in the past we've oftentimes talked about how as a Tassadar player you have not as much flashy plays available, but then we saw Mena's force walls, and those were out of this world. So let's see if we can put another one of these top-notch performances onto the Euro.
Yeah, that's when you can see a Tassadar is a pretty skilled player. Whenever they drop those force walls that section off their opponent, but enable your team to get that number advantage and get those kills. So we'll be watching for that force wall. There is also the option to move into Archon at level 10 here for Fnatic if they want to get a little bit more damage. We'll see what exactly they intend to do as we head towards that level 10. Zealots on the other side, just looking to maybe try and get a catch here, but Quacknick's playing very well, making sure to stay out of range of Mopsio. Doesn't want to get tossed over that wall, because the moment he does, this composition just completely crumbles.
Yeah, Scouts, of course, now with the Toxic Nest, Abathur that is, we are seeing him again with the Carapace build. We've seen adjustments made, especially with Genji going more into Symbiotes and the Spike, trying to put some pressure on. So yeah, this is going to be a hype one, and there's a lot riding on this. If you fall behind now and you head into the 4th game, your opponent has 2 match points, and this is, for both of them, an insanely important match. Fnatic wants to qualify for the mid-season brawl, Zealots still have a chance themselves, and Bad Benny up here. Yeah, he's dead. Like, with Abathur, that's not a fight he can win. And that is actually a brutal loss for Fnatic. If you lose a solo laner, you lose waves.
Especially because they're fighting over the Mercs too at the same time, so they're missing that experience in the top lane. Fnatic's able to grab them finally, but they couldn't peel anybody off, and that'll be a few minions down. It might be more as Zealots intend to push it in a little bit longer as Arthas just now spawns.
And that's, I mean, let's be honest here, that's not supposed to happen. That can't really happen if you're an Arthas going up against Blaze. You're not in a winning matchup on the lane, but you already know that. And then on top of that, you have an Abathur against you too. That always shifts the balance on the offlane, on the side lane in favor of the Abathur team. So you can't really move out too much there. So a bit of a misstep on Bad Benny's side. Fnatic finds themselves nearly half a level behind now as a result, since they lost some of the experience up top. And Zealots starting with a lead into the game on Battlefield of Eternity.
Mene getting hit there with the Groundbreaker. Now it's about time to start working on those Merc camps. 230 hits, and we already see Fnatic on their way over to start clearing that out. After they're able to scout it thanks to those mines, so Zealots know exactly where Fnatic currently is, and they'll do the same to their side as they grab those night camps and get those pushed in. Who wins this Immortal race here? You got Greymane on the right side here for Zealots, and he's pretty good at shredding that Immortal, but will Fnatic give him the chance to even attempt to shred it? I
mean, right from a race potential, Zealots are looking a bit stronger with Abathur, Greymane here. But it's all about how are these fights now going to last, because Fnatic, as you said, they're going to try and make this difficult, and the level 4 gives now a power spike for the Tracer Tassadar composition over to Fnatic, since they now have the extra life leech with a shield. Super important here to make these plays, but the question is how much of an impact do they have with that? Mopsio is trying to deter them as much as he can, but the rest of the Zealots are just looking for extra experience, and to be fair, they are nearly a level ahead. They are a level ahead.
Yeah. Already on their way to 7. Greymane chooses, instead of fighting over the Immortal, just pushing the top lane to put some damage on Bad Benny, but Bad Benny locks down Chris. Chris taking some damage. Can he Dark Flight out? Can he escape this? Slashes through and eventually does dodge away.
Shit. It's like, I don't know how he kept Chris alive, but he definitely pulled it off. That was insanely close. 2 times it looked like it would be the end of Greymane, but they keep him in the game now. So we have the lead on the Immortal for Fnatic. They are starting to close the gap in experience slightly, but it would really mean a lot for them to confirm the first objective, since that would bring them back into this. If Zealots walks away with the first Immortal and extends that lead, then Fnatic would be in a very uncomfortable spot where they have to play catch-up for the rest of the game.
Pulse Bomb is ready to go. Quacks has it available. He can drop it on top of Chris. Shield comes out. Quack working on those auto attacks, attempting to slow down their opponent. At the same time, gonna have Zealots dropping hats constantly, but also body soaking on this bottom lane, trying to get that level 7 here. Zealots trying to take the experience lead. Looks like they're going to lose this halftime show, and they're okay with that.
Like, Greymane has now at least taken some hit points off the Immortal of Fnatic and has moved in there. And Fnatic still wins the halftime show, but this is still an objective where Zealots have a good chance of winning it, because they grabbed the early level 7 talent, and that is a pretty strong power spike. So this is an uncomfortable spot for Fnatic to be in. They're trying to be defensive here, but they have to also move someone down now to soak the experience. Arthas is already at the top, and that opens up the path for Zealots to make their move.
Quack taking a bit of damage here, but Chris did move in. Gonna have the shield come out from Abathur, get a little bit of damage, but completely negated thanks to Shadow's healing. Zealots in a great spot now to go ahead and move over and start working on this Immortal, and they do so. Bad Benny also doing some damage on the Immortal of the Zealots. And it's going to be a bit of a clump here, as Fnatic is actually trying to play defense, trying to chase down this fight as they have a 5v4.
Yeah, Fnatic is actually doing pretty well with this, considering that they're lacking a talent. They're, of course, attempting to utilize the advantage of fighting on their own Immortal with this, but Zealots is equalizing the count on HP. Now, Arthas is moving over to the left side again, but this is still a bit of an awkward spot. 7 is still not there for Fnatic. There's still a talent down.
Still a talent down, but they're still healthy. Pack moves in, Pyromania comes in from Zarmany, they're going to fight over this area. Mopsio gets a massive groundbreaker, but Breeze finds a corner. He goes in, starts to buy buck just a tad bit, and meanwhile, we had some damage on the Immortal. Very close right now, 4,500 to 5,100.
And there's the 7. Now there's the 7 and they're moving in. Okay, already Min is trying to slow them down as they're moving in. They're going to try and race this. But above at the front is Zarmany. And again, Fnatic is defending. They're trying to find these kills. They're willing to give up the Immortal if they just find a kill. But they lose Tracer. And the silence was there. Fnatic had a chance to try and rush it, but they didn't. And now they lost one hero, but they get the counter kill. They at least take Greymane down. The problem is that Tyrael is also falling. Fnatic is in so much trouble here. A level behind, and they just lost the objective, and they lost 3 heroes.
Do you agree with that call? The full-on engage there, the silence comes out.
I honestly expected them to try and race it.
Yeah, because they actually had Arthas on it, and he was tickling it down pretty quickly.
It wasn't only Arthas, they already slowed the move of Zealots towards their own Immortal down by a good storm that dismounted everybody.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't know either, but I feel it would have been insanely close. But I think if Fnatic at that point jumps on the Immortal of the Zealots, they win that.
My issue isn't they didn't lose the Immortal. My issue is that they lost the Immortal and they also lost multiple members and fall massively behind in experience, and they may even lose a fort here.
I think either way, it would have been better to focus on their own Immortal, because even if they lose the race, they still are all in game, and they are now 2 levels behind. On level 10, by the way, on level 10. Like, you can't fight anything at this point. You're just going to get crap on the entire rest of the game until you finally, at some point, hit an even talent here. And if Zealots play their cards right now with such a massive lead, they should just paint the entire map red. Like, Zealots are not afraid of anything now. They can take literally any fight they want, because Fnatic just cannot fight against heroic abilities unless they find a 1 versus 5 somewhere. If Zarmany completely runs it down at the top lane now and just goes inting, then yeah, they can get a kill. But outside of a massive mistake on the Zealot side, there's just no way Fnatic takes a fight now.
Well, Zealot so far not making a massive mistake whatsoever. Zarmany just keeping an eye on Fnatic, making sure they're not grabbing any mercs or anything, trying to slow down any progress they have on getting towards level 10. Arthas to the south will go ahead and soak, but Zealots now group up at the top and they grab that mercenary camp. And if they play this right, as you were mentioning, they should be able to push in this top lane and try to get this fort down. There's some decent wave clear here for Fnatic. Tassadar and Arthas come to mind, but Arthas is having to be in the bottom line. So this could be a fort actually, and Zealots can move towards that 13.
Yeah, I'm really scared for Fnatic. For Zealots, this is the dream come true. This is fantastic for them. If they can maybe even dive, like, I mean, look at Chad. He's already waiting up here at the top. He's trying to see if they can maybe dive someone and he assists them. The Immortal is coming up another half minute. So far, Zealots haven't really done a lot with their level 10. They're trying to do that now by taking the fountain down. That's big. If they can get the 4, that would be great too. And oh, the priest barely getting out of there.
Just barely getting out, and that was going to be a dead Tyrael too. The taunt straight into the silence, he wouldn't have been able to escape. It's a good, clean play by him, and thanks to that, Fnatic are able to defend. Only half damage on that 4, and 10's about to hit.
Now, I have to admit that I expected Zealots to be more aggressive with that 10, especially with Bunker. I really think they could have dove onto one of the forts earlier, and with Bunker always had a situation, you know, where they can retreat again. So that not happening brings Fnatic back into the game. Fnatic is still far behind. And Breeze apparently even thinking about Judgment here. There's no cleanse on the side of the Zealots, so if they feel they need to go for a little bit of YOLO action, they might be willing to pull it off. And yes, he goes for it. Judgment. Judgment on Tyrael again. And they're starting to go in here.
Shad.
Fight is starting, and they're jumping into that backline. On Shad, they want him. The shove is in play, though. Archon, as Mena is trying to move away with the dimensional shift. Benny with the army. The copy on Abathur is also in. The kill against Benny is imminent, but he's able to move out. Shad is in trouble again. Breeze wants him, and Breeze takes him down.
And Quack with both on the back left will hit Zarmany. ADRD on that clone chasing down Smexy, but it looks like everyone for Fnatic will be able to survive. And Quack starts to jump straight on top of the Immortal. So Fnatic with a judgment call gets the kill right after the Immortal stun. They find Shad, and they're able to at least find some damage on the Immortal.
Yeah, Fnatic is still behind, but that was an important kill. And again, for me, it comes down to Zealots. I feel they could have been more aggressive. I might be wrong on this, but with Bunker and everything, I really expected them to dive one of the forts and take a few more structures and try to propel themselves to 13. Fnatic now on 10, they're trying to make the play. They were so far behind, but this allowed them to get back into the game. They have still a huge deficit in experience, but if they win the Immortal, if they actually take the Immortal, they're back in the game. Benny in a huge amount of trouble here. Didn't have an ult. Once again, damage comes out. Shad being careful here. Abathur is helping him out too. Quacknix is trying to join up with the rest of the team, and indeed he does. as Mena is, of course, still poking. He completed his quest already a while ago on the Storm, and they are getting some solid damage in, and that's the halftime show here.
The halftime show connects, and here's a Judgment Shad as the target. Howling Blast into a Bad Bunny chasing down. Also a massive root coming out. Breeze trying to chase down the targets while Shad spreads the healing to his teammates. Mopsio is actually getting kind of low here, but he is a Garrosh, so he might be able to survive here. Another Howling Blast does connect, and Bad Bunny chases, but Zealots are able to stop the onslaught from Fnatic.
Good effort, though, by Fnatic. Judgment into a Howling Blast right away, so they're really trying to pull the stops here, and they're doing well. They needed to do something early because Zealots are closing in on 13, but the fight is still happening, and the position is now good for Zealots since they are already on Fnatic's Immortal, and Fnatic is really having a tough time sharking around this and trying to put the pressure on. So Zealots are going to start and take the lead here.
And ADRD wisely puts the clone in a position where he can jump on Quacknix if he comes in. The main damage here for Fnatic. Zones him out completely. Mopsio doing his best here to put some damage on the Immortal. Chris gets a couple auto attacks here and there, but Bad Bunny trying to prevent him from doing so. And this Immortal is low, but it's still alive. Fnatic can try and force a fight with the clone down.
Fnatic needs to win a fight now. They need to win it fast. Mopsio, there's the bunker once again, but they need to do something. They need to get the damage. They need to get a kill. Mena barely gets out. He was about to fall here. He's trying to stay in the back so he can shield someone, but it's Arthas that falls. Benny is dead. Fnatic had to do it. They needed to go in. They can't lose the Immortal, but now they lost the Immortal. They are Talon behind, and they also lost Arthas. Things are just not getting better for Fnatic at all. They had a small window on level 10 versus 11.5 where they nearly made it happen, where they got the kill, and after that, it just gets rough. Zealots, at this point, I mean, they're out for blood right now.
And it gets rougher thanks to Abathur. Look at that bottom lane. A big wave was pushing in the entire time, so Fnatic will have to put one hero down there to soak that up, or they should be able to clear it up pretty quickly and at least get them to about 12.5 of experience, close to level 13. But meanwhile, this top lane being pushed in. Zealots with this 4-man is attempting to break down these turrets, and if they can, they'll get through here and start putting damage on that keep.
Yeah, this is, I mean, this is painful. For Zealots, this is the dream. They can try and take the keep down here. If they can get a kill, they might be even able to get more. I doubt it's still early in the game, but the keep is definitely going to suffer. Fnatic might be able to save it, but it's definitely going to be low.
Well, easily going down. Next is the keep to be focused. Bad Bunny's in a good position here to set up a concave with Breeze here to help him out. Judgment is available, but Chad, realizing that Judgment has become the main tool for Fnatic, plays safe in the back. Great adaptation by him, dropping down the heals where he can. And there goes the keep. ADRD using the clone just to buy time once again.
Yeah, Fnatic is completely zoned. The clone, as he said, I mean, they zoned it really well. Now they're trying to engage here, but Chat is always ready. You're playing this against the bunker and against the silence. I mean, it is a desperate move, but they were trying. The problem is Zealots know exactly how to play this. Smaxy is low and he goes down. This is just painful. The core is already losing hit points, and this should be the end. Zealots get the double kill. Now they can move in as 5. Yes, the Immortal is down, but the core is down to 72%, and this is a 5 versus 3 setup that we're seeing now.
And they're going straight for the core. Greyman's already on top of it, down at 60%, getting lower and lower. Breeze and Quacknix doing a last-ditch attempt here to try and defend. Material Trait might be able to get a little bit of value here, just some damage. Pulse Bomb goes off and gets Chris slow, but Shad with the last-second heal will keep him alive, and Zealots are able to shut down a Tracer composition from Fnatic, and they'll grab the second win, going up in the series 2-1.
Fnatic is now 0-2 with Tracer. Not really getting too much success here. Very